Hello there and welcome to the third part of our JAMB Mathematics Past Questions for 2021. Here we're going to be solving 10 additional questions, and if you have not watched the first and the second part, I will encourage you to do so, as I've solved 20 questions so far and now we're going to be continuing. If you have not subscribed, please do so and click on the notification bell so that you can get notified when I upload the solutions to new questions. So without further ado, let's get started. So the 21st question says that the locus of a point which moves so that it is equidistant from two intersecting straight lines is the what? So the best way I see to address this kinds of question is to just quickly draw a sketch. So we said we're going to have two intersecting straight lines. So let's start from that. I'm going to draw two intersecting straight lines. Then we have this and we have this. So now the question says the locus of a point which moves so that it is equal distance from two intersecting lines. So if I want to draw a locus of point that is equal distance from this line and this line, essentially it means that point is going to move something like this. And why is that the case? Because if you look at this, the distance from here to this line is equal to the distance from here to this line. Same thing, distance from here to this line is same thing as distance from here to this line all the way through for any point that you look at. So the question says, what is this line or the locus of this point? What is this going to be called? So let's look at the options. A, the perpendicular bisector of the two lines. No, this is not a perpendicular bisector because it does not cross across this line at a right angle. The second one, the angle bisector of the two lines. Now if you look at the angle between the two lines, which is this angle over here, now the angle bisector will mean a line that divides the angle into two parts. And if you look at this carefully, you can see that this line or this locus of point divides this angle into two parts because the angle over here is the same thing as the angle over here, and that makes option B the correct option. We can go through the other options to just get you a sense of what they mean. Now the bisector of the two lines, this is not correct because it does not divide the two lines equally. And finally, line parallel to the two lines. As you can see, this line is not parallel to these two lines. So again, the correct option to this is option B. Now moving on to the next question, question 22. It says 4, 16, 30, 20, 10, 14, and 26 are represented on a pie chart. Find the sum of the angles of the bisector representing all numbers equal to or greater than 16. So there are several ways to go about this, but the easiest way is like, okay, so I'm going to say you have a cycle and you know what a pie chart is. This is how a pie chart essentially looks like. Now you divide it up based on the numbers that have been given. One of them is 4, 16, 30 all the way through. Now you know that, for example, the angle of one particular point, let me call this particular point, is, if I want to convert or find the angle of this particular point, it is going to be equal to what? A over the total number times 360. That is where I'm going to convert this particular one of these number to an angle. So now the total number there we have is what is going to be 4 plus 16 plus 30 plus 20 plus 10 plus 14 and plus 26. And once you sum all of these up, what do you get? You get 120. But now the question asks us to find the sum of the angle bisector representing all numbers equal to or greater than 16. So which of those numbers are equals to or greater than 16? Let's look through them carefully. So 4 is not going to be part of it. 16 is going to be part of it because 16 is equals to 16. 30 is going to be part because it's greater. 20 is going to be part of it. 20. 10 is not going to be part because it's less than. 14 is not going to be part because it's less than. And finally, we have 26. So when I sum all of these together, I have 16 plus 30 plus 20 and plus 26, and that gives me 92. So the total angle for the numbers greater than 16 is going to be what? 92, because that is the total sum of all those numbers divided by the total number 120. Then I multiply by the total number of angles in a cycle, 360, according to the formula that I've stated over here. So I have 92 divided by 120 times 360, and that is equals to what? 276 degrees. So the sum of all the angles representing all numbers greater than or equal to 16 is going to be option D. Another way you can do that is to find the sum of each of these angles individually. So you have, for example, 16 over 360 over 120 times 360, 30 over 120 times 360. Then when you get the angle for each of them, you sum them up together. But I've done it the other way around, where I sum up the number first before dividing it by 120 and multiplying by 360, because this is a quicker approach. And you know that the key in JAMB is to look for the shortest way in which you can solve a question because of the time constraints you have. Moving on to the next question, we're told that the mean of 10 positive number is 16. When another number is added, the mean becomes 18. Find the 11th number. So now, let's say, for example, so to solve this question now, let's assume that we'll say let the sum of the 10 numbers be equals to x. So what can we say? We know that when we sum up of these known numbers, let's say they are a plus b plus c plus d all the way up to the 10th number, we say the sum is equals to x. So we know that x divided by how many numbers do we have? 10 is equals to 16. And that is the best way in which you can interpret this first expression, that the mean of 10 positive number is 16. Now what is the mean? The mean is the sum of all the number divided by the numbers that you have. And now we know that we have said let the sum of all those 10 numbers be x. So we divide by the total number that we have, which is 10, and that will be equal to the mean, which is 16. So now we can find the sum of all this number, which is x. So we know that x will just be 16 times 10, and that is equal to what? 116. So we know that the sum of all our 10 numbers is what? 160. Now the next part of the question says when another number is added, the mean becomes 18. So we have the sum of those 10 numbers, which is 160. Now we add another number. Let's say let the 11th number be equals to a. So now we have the sum of all our 10 numbers. Sum of all our 10 numbers is x. Now when we add our 11th number, which is a, now altogether we're going to have our 10 numbers plus one more number, which is 11, and the mean of that is what? Is 18. But we found out what x is, because x is the sum of all our 10 numbers, which I've estimated to be 160. So we can substitute that here. So we have 160 plus a over 11 is equals to 18. Now we can easily cross multiply. So we know that what? 160 plus a will be equals to 18 times 11. And what is 18 times 11? That will be what? 198. So we can make a this way the formula. So we know that a will be equals to what? 198. And when we bring 160 over to the other side, that will be minus 160. And that is equals to what? 38. So the 11th number is what? Is 38. And that makes C the correct option. So moving on to the next, it says two numbers are removed at random from the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. What is the probability that the sum of the numbers removed is even? Now, this is quite easy and interesting question. So let's assume you have a basket. I like to draw because it makes it easier to visualize things. Then you have 4 numbers in there. You have the number 1, you have the number 2, you have the number 3, and you have the number 4. Now your task is to take 2 numbers out of this ball or this container, and you're going to take them randomly. Now the question says that what is the probability that the sum of the numbers removed is even? That means when you take out the 2 numbers, when you add those 2 numbers, what is the probability that they are even? Now the best way to think about it is to say, what are all the possible combinations of numbers I can take? And we're going to work that out. So the first combination is either I can take the number 1 and the number 2. Another combination is I can take the number 1 and the number 3. Another possible combination is I can take the number 1 and the number 4. Another combination is I can take the number 2 and the number 3. Another combination is I can take the number 2 and 4. And finally, the last combination is I can take the number 3 and the number 4. Now, all the total possible ways in which I can take the number is what? This is the first possible combination: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there are 6 possible outcomes or 6 possible ways in which I can shuffle or take out 2 balls from this basket. Now, let's say if I take out each of these numbers, what is their sum? So what is 1 plus 2? 3. What is 1 plus 3? 4. What is 1 plus 4? 5. 2 plus 3? 5. 2 plus 4? 6. And 3 plus 4? 7. So which of these numbers are even? You can see that the only times in which I can take 2 numbers in which the sum are even is if I take 1 and 3, because that will give me 4, which is the even number. And if I take 2 and 4, because that gives me 6, which is an even number. The remaining are odd numbers. So remember now that the probability is equal to outcome, number of outcome, over total possible outcome. Total possible outcome. Now, in this case, the number of outcome that I want is either this or this, in this case, which is only 2. And the total number of possible outcomes is 6, because there are 6 possible ways in which I can select 2 numbers from this board. So that I have 2 over 6. And that will be equal to the simplest form, 1 over 3. And that makes option C the correct option. Now, moving on to the next, we're told that we should find the probability that the number selected at random for 41 to 56 is a multiple of 9. Again, the best way to do this is to list out all the numbers from 41 to 56, since we can do that. So all the numbers here we have was 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, and 56. So the point is, the total numbers that we have here, or that we can select at random, is going to be all the numbers we have here, which is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Have I mixed anyone? Starting with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Oh, I've missed 55, 15, and 16. So the total numbers here is what? 16. And the next question is, which of these numbers are multiples of 9? So if you look at through it, a multiple means, if you know your 9 times table, you can easily figure out what the multiples of 9 is. So we know that 9 times 4 is what? 36. So 36 is a multiple of 9. 9 times 5 is 45. So 45 is a multiple of 9. 9 times 6 is 54. So we know that 54 is also a multiple of 9. And those are the only multiples of 9 we have over here. So in this case, our probability of multiple of 9 will just be equal to, how many of these numbers are multiple of 9? Just 45 and 54, which is 2. And what are the total possible numbers that I can draw out? 16. So that will just be 2 over 16. And to the simplest form, that will just be 1 over 8. And that makes option A the correct option. Moving on to the next part, it says that Musa borrows 10 naira at 2% per month simple interest, and he pays 8 after 4 months. How much does he still owe? Now, this is a question that has to do with simple interest. If you don't understand simple interest, I encourage you to watch a thorough video that I've uploaded on simple interest, and this will be very helpful to give you a good understanding of that. So we know that our simple interest is what is our principal times our rate times time divided by 100. So that means the simple interest. So let's try to find what the simple interest is. So that means simple interest to be equal to how much. Principal means how much you are investing or how much you are borrowing. In this case, Musa is borrowing 10 naira. The rate is 2% and is borrowing it for 4 months, right? And divided by 100. So when I multiply all of this together, 4 times 2 times 10 times 2 times 4 is 80 over 100, and that is equals to 0.8. So what does this mean? It means that after 4 months, in addition to the 10 naira that Musa borrowed, we also have to pay back an interest of 0.8 naira. So that means at 4 months, total debt will be equals to what? The amount that I initially borrowed, which is 10, plus the amount of interest he has to pay back now, which is 0.8, and that is what? 10.8. And this makes perfect sense, because think about it. If you go borrow money from a bank, you're not just going to pay back the amount you borrowed, you're also going to pay back an interest. And what we've calculated is the amount of interest that Musa has to pay back at the end of 4 months. Now we're told that at the end of 4 months also, at 4 months, Musa paid back 8 naira. So paid 8 naira. So how much does he owe? So now if the total debt is 10.8 and he paid back 8, so we can minus 8 from that, we are going to be left with what? We are going to be left with 2.8. So the amount of money that Musa is still owing in this case is what? 2.8 naira, which is option C. So moving on to the next question, it says that we should simplify this logarithm. Now I have a session where I've recorded all the tutorial videos for the JAMB Mathematics syllabus, and logarithm happens to be among them. So if there's any topic that you're struggling with, I will encourage you to watch the full videos, and I will link and where you can find those videos in the description of this video. So now getting back to this question on logarithm, so this is pretty much straightforward, and all it requires you to know is the laws of logarithm. Now one of key laws of logarithm says that if you have a log b, is the same thing as having what? Log b to the power of a. Now we're going to apply that concept here. So in this case, 2 log 2 over 5 can be written as what? Log 2 over 5 squared. Then I'm going to continue with this log 72 over 125 plus log 9. Right? And now this is the same thing as saying what? Log 2 squared is 4 and 5 squared is 25 minus log 72 over 125 plus log 9. Now again, if you recall from our laws of logarithm, if you have log a plus log b is what? Log a times b, and at the same time log a minus b minus log b is same thing as saying log what? A divided by b. So I'm going to apply these 2 laws over here. So this is same thing that's going to be saying, if I want to collect all of them in one like time, that would be log what? 4 over 25. The minus changes to divided by 72 over 125, and the plus changes to times 9 over 1. Now to remove this divide sign or to change it to times, I just flip over the number next to it. So this is same thing as saying 4 over 25. Then this becomes times, I flip over this 125 over 72, and this remains the same, times 9 over 1. So I simplify. 25 goes in 125 5 times, 9 go in 72 8 times. So I have in the numerator, so this is just going to simplify to be what? Log of what? You have 4, or we can even simplify further. 2 here, so this is going to be, let's just simplify this. So this is going to be what? Log 5 times 4 is 20 divided by 8. And if I want to make this further simple, this is same thing as saying what? Log of what? If I divide both sides by 2, log of 10 over 4. Now if you look at this carefully, I can take this and reverse it back. So this is same thing as saying log 10 divided by 4. And if I want to take it back using this law that I have over here, is the same thing as saying what? It's the same thing as saying log 10 minus log of 4. Now, what is log 10? And since no base is given, we can assume that the base over here is base of 10. So what is log 10 base 10? So log 10 base 10 is what? 1. And this can be written as, and 4 can be written as what? 2 to the power of 2. And remember, from this first law, this also can be written as taking the exponent to the back of the log. So this also can be written as what? 1 minus 2 log 2. And that makes option D the correct option. This might look complicated, but trust me, it's not. It just rests on your understanding of the laws of logarithm, and that is why I encourage you to watch the full tutorial video of logarithm, which I will link in the bio, so you can have a better understanding of that concept. So moving on to question 28, we are told that a car travels from Calabar to Enugu. So as I told you multiple times, the best way to approach question is try to see if you can just like draw a schematic, because that helps you to better conceptualize what you are trying to solve. So the car moves from Calabar to Enugu, and the distance between that is what? P kilometer. That's the total distance, and the speed at which it travels is what? U kilometer per hour. Now after getting to Enugu, the car continues again to what? To Benin, and the distance between Enugu and Benin is what? Q kilometer, and with a average speed of what? W kilometer per hour. Now the question is saying we should find the average speed from Calabar to Benin. So what is the average speed? Now one mistake that I've seen students make multiple times is to try to just, oh, the speed from Calabar to Enugu is U, and the speed of Enugu to Benin is W. So just say U plus W divided by 2. Just find the average of that. But that is the wrong way to solve this question. Now, the right way to solve this question is to remember that the speed formula for speed is what? Distance over time. Distance over time, right? Now, we can easily calculate the total distance from Calabar to Benin. I know that the total distance is going to be distance from Calabar to Enugu, which is P, and the distance from Enugu to Benin, which is Q. So the total distance is just going to be P plus Q. What might not be so straightforward to figure out is the time, because you are not given the time it takes us to move from Calabar to Enugu and the time it takes us to move from Enugu to Benin, but we are given the speed. That means you can figure out the time that it takes from Calabar to Enugu. And how do we do that? Remember again that what? Speed is equal to distance over time. And if I make time the sort of formula, same thing as saying time is what? Distance over speed. So I can figure out the time that it takes to move from Calabar to Enugu, and that time is going to, what will be the distance? Distance is P, and what is the speed? The speed is U. So the time it takes to move from Calabar to Enugu is what? P over U. Now what is the time it takes to move from Enugu to Benin? Again, it's going to be distance, which is Q in this case, and the speed, which is W. So now I know the time it takes to move from Calabar to Enugu, and I know the time it takes to move from Enugu to Benin. So the total time it takes is just going to be what? P plus Q over time from Calabar to Enugu plus time plus what? Enugu to Benin. And that is just going to be what? P plus Q over what is the time from Calabar to Enugu? P over U. And what is the time from Enugu to Benin? Plus Q over W. So now what do we need to do? We just need to simplify this to make it make more sense. So we have P over Q. Now we can find the LCM of the denominator over here, and the LCM is going to be what? UW. And UW divided by W will give me, divided by G will give me W. So W times P will give me, we have WP, and here you have UW divided by W will give me U. Then U times Q will give me UQ. So again, this is the same thing as saying, to not make it confusing, P plus Q divided by WP plus UQ over UW. So now to change this divide 2 times, it's going to be what? P plus Q times UW over WP plus UQ, and that is the same thing as saying UW times P plus Q over what? WP plus UQ. And what option is that? That would be option B. So the correct option here is option B. So this just has to do with sort of formula on understanding your formula for speed. So the key to remember is that when you have multiple sections given the time or the speed and the distance, what you want to do is figure out the total distance and the total time before you sum them up and use that to calculate the average speed. So the next question says that if W varies inversely as UV over U plus V, and W is equal to 8 when U is 6 and when U is 2 and V is 6, find the relationship between U, V and W. Now this is a question on inverse proportion, and I have a tutorial section which I will also link in the description if you struggle with this topic. But generally, we know that we are told that W is inversely proportional. So when we have inversely proportional, we know that we're just going to have inversely proportional to K over our quantity. And our quantity over here is what? UV over, or let me just, not our K yet, I'm putting the inverse proportionality sign. So we have W is inverse proportional to, inverse means 1 over, so 1 over our value over here, which is what? U plus V. So this again can be written as W is inverse proportional to 1 over this is the same thing as flipping what you have in your denominator over. So it's the same thing as saying what? U plus V over UV. So now to remove the proportionality sign or to change it to equals to, we add a constant of proportionality. So we call that constant K, U plus V over UV. Now we're told that what? From the conditions we are given, when U is 2, V is 6, and what? W is equals to 8. So we can substitute all of that into here to find what the value of K is. So W is 8, we don't know what K is. Now U is 2 and V is 6 over 2 times 6. So what would that be? So we have 8 is equals to, what is 2 plus 6? 8K. And what is 2 times 6? Times 6 will be what? Times 6 will be 12. And what do we do now? So we know that when we cross multiply, we have 8K will be equals to what? 8 times 12. And if I divide both sides by 8 will cancel out this 8, just as this 8 cancel out this 8. And K is what? K is 12. So I can substitute the value of K as 12 into my original equation. So I know that W will be equals to what? 12 times U plus V over UV. And again, I can cross multiply. So I know that what? UVW will be equals to 12 into bracket U plus V. And that makes what? Option C the correct option. Now, if you have any question, please feel free to drop me a comment and I'll try to attend to them as soon as I can. And if you need further clarification on solving proportionality, whether inverse or direct proportion, I'll put a link in the description where you can watch my full tutorial on that topic. So moving on to the final question for part 3, we are told that if g of x is equals to x squared plus 3x, find gx plus 1 minus gx. Now this is quite straightforward and it just requires you to look at stuff carefully. So we are given a function. I thought that g of x, is equals to what? X squared plus 3x. So what would that mean? For example, if I say what would be g of a, it just means that I will represent wherever I see x as a into my function. So g of a will be what? A squared plus 3a. Just think of this function as a machine that shows you how you should replace the value of x into the expression to find out what it is. So in the same vein, what will be g into bracket x plus 1? So again, just think of x plus 1 as just x alone and fix it into the equation. So in this case, instead of writing x alone, we are going to write the full expression here, which is going to be what? X plus 1 squared plus what? 3. Instead of writing x again, we are now going to have what? X plus 1. So again, just as an aside, what would be g into bracket x plus y? Again, the same concept is just to replace everything you have here as the value of x alone. So this is something that is going to be x plus y squared plus 3 into bracket x plus y. So it doesn't really matter. So don't let the fact that you have just x here and you have x plus 1 here phase you. The idea is just to replace all the things that you have here as the value of x in the expression, and you can find out what that is. So I can simplify what g x plus 1 is. So when we expand x plus 1, this is going to be x squared plus 2x plus 1. Yeah, and this is going to be what? 3 times 2 is, this is going to be 3x plus 3. So this is going to be what? X squared plus 2x plus 3x is what? Is 5x, and 2 plus 1 is 3 plus 4. But now the question asks us to find what? G into bracket x plus 1 minus g of x. So now we found out what g into bracket x plus 1 will. We know that is x squared plus 5x plus 4. And we know what g of x is. We've been told that g of x is what? X squared plus 3x. So we can write that here. So x squared plus 3x. So when I expand this, I'm going to have x squared plus 5x plus 4. Then minus times plus will give me minus x squared, and minus times plus will give me minus 3x. I know that this, we cancel out this, and 5x minus 3x collecting like time will be 2x plus, I'm left with 4. And what is common here? What is common to the both of them is what? 2. So 2 in x is x, and 2 in 4 is 2. So you have 2 into bracket x plus 2, and that makes option B the correct option. And now that brings us to the end of our part 3 for JAMB Mathematics Past Question for 2021. If you have any question, please drop them in the comment, and I'll try to respond to them as quickly as I can. And if there's any topic that you're struggling with, I'll put a link in the description where you can get the full tutorial video on that specific topic, so you have a better understanding of what it's about. So now bye for now, and I will see you in the fourth and final part, where we'll look at the final 10 questions for JAMB Mathematics Past Question for 2021. See you soon.